Here's Johnny.
Welcome to my nightmare.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Let me play with this, Daddy.
What is happening tonight, everyone? Welcome back to Fear Freaks podcast. My name is Braden.
I'm Destiny.
And we are the Fear Freaks. We are closing out 2022 officially this week with this show. We are officially closing it out. I cannot believe it. The year has come and gone. Destiny, your birthday's on Saturday. Happy early birthday. Doing anything exciting for New Year's Eve? That's got to be exciting. You know, you have a birthday on New Year's Eve. Like that's awesome.
It's not exciting. It's not exciting because no one cares that it's your birthday.
Everyone cares about the New Year. Well, everyone in the chat, if you guys follow Destiny on social media, make sure Saturday you guys show her that you care and go to her page and blow it up. Blow it up. Say happy birthday to her. But seriously, that's awesome. And I know we were chatting a little bit before the show, but what are you doing Saturday? Tell the audience what you're doing.
My mom and her fiance were gonna go to the Cheesecake Factory. They said I could choose anywhere, and I love the Cheesecake Factory. And we used to go there for my birthdays a lot. So we're gonna go there. My friend Maddie's supposed to come in town. Hopefully she's able to, because that's like my only plan for the night was to hang out with Maddie. And we're gonna like watch movies and have drinks like we usually do when we hang out. So hopefully she's coming. If not, I will be watching movies by myself.
Lone wolf watching movies. Hey, but you know what? That's also a very relaxing birthday. Ringing in the new year, having a few drinks by yourself, watching some of your favorite movies. That's a great way to just chill and relax, if you ask me. So
it's what I did last year, and then Betty White died.
And then you were depressed, right?
And like I cried. I was watching Scooby-Doo too, laying in bed, fucking crying.
You're sitting there, you feel like you got a little bit of a buzz going, you get news like that, and all of it just flushes out of you. Like,
I was so upset because like I tend to not have the best luck with my birthdays. Like a lot of my birthdays, something's gone wrong. Not necessarily with me, just like gone wrong. And I was like, it's been a great birthday. Like everything's going great. I'm just sitting at home. I don't have to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go on Twitter and I saw Betty White died. I was like, son of a bitch. Then,
you're like, that is my luck. You're like, that's me. That was all me.
Right.
No, I know. That was very sad. And I mean, literally, and like the memes that kind of followed it, yes, they were funny, but it was mostly only because of like, she was a couple weeks shy of her 100th birthday. Like, yeah. I mean, like it's like, really, you're going to let her live until 99 and not let her get the extra, like 18 days or whatever it was to 100. Like, so it's honestly insane. But yeah, Brettman, I see Brettman says R.I.P. Betty White. I know, right, guys? Couldn't let her make it to 100, unfortunately. But in my opinion, she was right there. Didn't cross it, but she was like right there.
Yeah.
So speaking of everyone in the chat, what's going on? How you guys doing? I see we got Lamontre, Ashton, Brettman, Brandon, Gory, Russell, I think I said Ashton already, but hey again, Ashton, how's it going? Making sure I get Aaron, what's going on? Byron, making sure I got everyone. Your guys' comments are coming in a little quick tonight, and we've got a great audience in here already. So tonight, if you guys can't tell, we are talking about top 10 horror movies of 2022. This is the best year for horror that we have gotten in a long time. In quite a while. So I was very excited. We had some major franchises come back this year. We had some that were good, some that were and the ones that were are not going to be on this list tonight, but I'm sure you guys probably know the ones that we're already talking about. But before we get started, Destiny, what is in your world of horror for this week? What's going on?
All right. So I did watch a few new movies and I did a couple of rewatches. So I'll go to the rewatches first. On Christmas Eve, I put on Better Watch Out for my family and I. We all got to watch it. Well, some of them ended up leaving before the movie was over because it was like super late already. but like my mom sat down and she was like watching a good part of it, so she got to see most of it. So did my family. So we got to watch that, and that was really fun. And then on Christmas Day that night, I watched the original Black Christmas again, and it was amazing as always. I love Black Christmas. We talked about it last week. So those are rewatches, and then some new watches. I watched Scare Package 2, came out on Shudder. I was a little disappointed, not gonna lie, because I love the first Scare Package. Even though I don't love like two of the shorts, I don't think they're that great. They're anthology movies. But the runner story, or like the wraparound story of the first Scare Package, is so fucking good. I love it so much. And just the second movie, I don't know. I feel like none of the shorts really like grasped the same way the first ones did. And even the wraparound, it just wasn't as good in my opinion. So I was a little disappointed by that because I love the first one. I watched Resurrection, also on Shudder, and it stars Rebecca Hall. This was like a new release for this year, and I really enjoyed it. It gets pretty fucking crazy. Once the whole plot starts to like unravel, and then just the end was insane. So I recommend that one. It was really good. And Rebecca Hall, again, she's incredible in everything I've seen her in. So really enjoyed that one. I finally got to watch Violent Night. Loved
Oh,
it.
and you didn't text me about that one. What the heck? I'm
sorry.
mad at you now, just so you know. I
I'm
thought that I would have been the first one that you texted after you watched that. Very disappointed in you right now. So
Look, I'm sorry. I had started it at night at my mom's house. I fell asleep, so I finished it the next day at work because we were really slow and I wanted to finish it. I loved it. I had so much fun. It had great kills. I love David Harbour. I was so excited to see him play Santa. So Violet Night, that one was a lot of fun. And then today I watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
yeah, I think I saw you tweet that. You said that you enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
I have not seen that yet, so I cannot attest to that one. I know that that's supposed to be like a fun horror like movie. It's a comedy, right? Like it's like a horror comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a horror comedy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow, you had a pretty solid week when it comes down to horror. Like, you know.
I was trying. I was trying to get in these like there's still quite a few movies I didn't get to from 2022, but I was trying to get in as much as I could before the stream to like, really set some stuff into place. So I was doing my best because all of those were, well, besides the rewatches, all of those came out this year. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a couple. I watched only I did rewatch Christmas Bloody Christmas because I enjoyed it so much the first time. So I rewatched that, and I did watch Black Christmas. So I watched both of those. But that's pretty much it as to what was going on with me. I had a pretty busy Christmas. I was all over the place. So but it was good. It was good. We got to relax a little bit. Christmas morning, I watched a non-horror movie for those non-horror people that is in here as well. I watched Home Alone.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Love that movie. I know that I used to have a friend that was actually terrified of Home Alone growing up because of the burglars and everything. Like, and they were just scared to be at home. But it's definitely not horror. It's definitely comedy for a fact because of the way that he. Now they could take that concept and turn it into horror, which is what Violent Night kind of does. It's like a Die Hard meets like Home Alone type of deal, but still, you could take that concept and easily make it a horror movie. How the heck does these things keep getting like? How do they go around getting unblocked? It's absolutely unbelievable. Like. Stop it. My algorithm should be holding you. We got to hold the fort down. This is the day that we hope. But okay, here we go. Denise, I saw you come in here. Denise, what's going on? How's it going? And then Fauci, what's going on? How you doing? Matt Fauci or Fauci? I always say Fauci. I don't know why. I say it all the time wrong. It's like I say Faulkner. Like...
Yeah,
I know. Let's not even talk about that. Okay. Anyway, so we have talked now about what we've had going on this week. Now it is that time, ladies and gentlemen, to get into our top 10 horror movies of 2022. What's it going to be? What movies are going to make the list? What movies are not going to make the list? But anyway,
Did you just freeze?
Did I? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, like, I said something like 3 times. But anyway, Destiny, get into your, I know you said you have, how many honorable mentions? 3?
Yes.
Okay, I have 2. So you go first. Go on with your honorable mentions right now.
Okay, my first honorable mention is Hellbender. This came out on like Shudder. I think it was earlier this year. It was one of like the earlier sort of like first time watches that I did, and I really enjoyed it. It's a witch movie, but it's like a coming of age witch movie, and it's kind of done differently because it's not like a secret that they're witches. Like it's just like out in the open that they are. And it's this mom and daughter duo, and they are actually mom and daughter in real life, and the dad also works on movies, so it's like a little family production. They're called the Addams Family, but it's 1D instead of 2Ds, like the Addams Family.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool. Great visual effects, really like trippy stuff. I really enjoyed it. So Hellbender, and then I have VHS 99. I was surprised I liked this one as much as I did because I didn't really care for was it 94 or 84? I think it was whatever one came out last
I think it was 84. I think
84?
I remember it being 84, and then because 99 came out this year. So
Okay. So I wasn't huge on 84. I know a lot of people liked it. It just wasn't really like just some of the stories again, I just didn't grasp to them. But with 99, I liked almost every segment, which I feel is kind of hard to pull off in an anthology because there's usually at least one that I'm just like, I don't like. But this one, I liked pretty much all of them except for one. It got a little bit weird towards the end, but I liked most of it. And the wraparound story, the way it plays into the movie was a lot of fun. So 99, I really enjoyed that one. And then my last one is Sissy. Also was on Shudder this year. All 3 of these were Shudder movies. But Sissy, it's like about a girl who had some stuff happen to her in the past and she's trying to like better herself, and then she starts to slip back into that. And it's kind of like, again, there's like a lot of crazy visuals, and it's like really visually like cool towards the end because that's when it starts to like play into that. And it's very much about like women friendships, and it's like girly and pink and stuff like that, and I love movies that are like that. So Sissy, that one was a lot of fun.
Okay, interesting. I have Sissy written down, so I gotta. What one's that on?
Shudder.
Shudder. Okay, I feel like most of the ones that you watch are on Shudder, so I gotta just kind of like browse through Shudder and kind of add. You could add a favorites list on the app, right? I think I have.
Yeah,
the Shudder
you have
app
like a watch list.
Okay.
Thing,
yeah,
so.
I need to start getting a watch list together. Like I'll do that tonight when I'm on Xbox later on.
Yeah.
Okay, so solid top 3 honorable mentions. For me, honorable mention. First of all, I only have 2. Smile, honorable mention. Enjoyable in my opinion. Little long. I think it drags on, and I don't mean like in terms of like runtime. I just mean I feel like the story drags on just a tad bit longer than it needed to. There are some moments where I feel like they could have kind of cut it and then cut to the credits. Some moments that could have been shaved. Also, I will say another reason this is an honorable mention instead of number 9 or 10 on the list is simply because it literally was. There was like one too many jump scares. It was like a jump scare was like every like 15 minutes of the movie. Like in some cases it was like every 5 minutes it felt like. And I'm just like, okay, like are we done? Like, so enjoyable movie. I had a good time with it. And that's my first honorable mention. Second honorable mention for me is Werewolf by Night. It's a Marvel presentation. It's the Marvel special presentation. I had a great time with it. If you are a fan of, the classic Universal monsters, it's all black and white. Very well directed. Michael Giacchino is one of the composers. He's actually a very famous composer now. Like, he's done all the music for like the most recent Batman movie. He's done most of the Spider-Man films. He actually directed this, and I think he's got a future in directing. That's for sure. He definitely directed this very well. So I very much enjoyed Werewolf by Night. So that's my two honorable mentions. So with that being said, Destiny, what is your number 10 on your list?
All right, my number 10 is Fresh. It doesn't feel like this movie came out this year because, again, this was like earlier in the year and there's been so much since then. But I had a lot of fun with Fresh. I think the two main leads were great. Unfortunately, if you see the fucking poster, you can kind of tell where the story is going to go. So the whole twist of the movie wasn't really a twist for me. I knew that was coming. I was just waiting to see how it plays out. But I think everyone does a great job. I love the friendship, from the main and then her friend. The sort of how, as soon as something feels off, she's like, no, something's wrong. Like, and they're kind of taking the steps that something you should do when you're meeting someone new. But don't go on a vacation with someone that you don't know. Like, don't go up to a cabin or anything like that with them. Just don't do that. But they are taking like the precautions to like stay safe when this happens. And I feel like this would have been higher for me, but the end itself, I felt like it was a little weak. I kind of felt like Sebastian Stan's character should have gotten it worse from what he was doing, and I felt like that dragged on a little bit. But everything else in the story was great, and I saw a lot of people compare this to American Psycho, which I could kind of agree with. I feel like Sebastian Stan plays that character so well of being so charming, yet we know he's fucked up. And then he plays, like, he writes that line of, like, everything he's saying is so wrong, but it's still funny in a way because he plays it so well. So, Fresh.
Okay. That's actually on my list of movies to watch that I was told literally to watch by quite a few colleagues of mine earlier this year. They're like, Braden, if you're like, they're like, you got to watch it. Seriously. It's on my list. I promise. So I will get there. My number 10 is Orphan First Kill. I very much enjoyed Orphan First Kill. I know that this movie was in development for quite some time. And we finally got one. One of my biggest issues with the movie is the fact that obviously Esther is supposed to be younger than she was in Orphan, but she looks older in quite a few shots. Doesn't really take me out of the movie. I enjoyed the story a lot. And I like the direction that the writers and stuff, and I really like the twist that is in this movie as well. I just didn't enjoy this movie as much as I did the other movies that are on like my list ahead of it. I really wanted to find a place for it, so I was like, it has to be number 10 because I just enjoyed all the movies ahead of it more. So that's why Orphan First Kill is number 10 on my list.
All right. My number 9 is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Okay. And like you just watched that today, so.
Yeah, I watched it today. And boy, let me tell you, there are people that don't like this movie. And they will fucking let you know that they don't like this movie. Like I've said before, I don't care. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I don't care. Someone said wasted time, don't watch. I've already fucking rented it. I'm watching it. And I'm putting it on because I want to watch it, So I watched it and I had a really good time with it. I won't say too much because it's like a mystery sort of movie. And I thought it was going to be a slasher movie, but it is, but it's not a slasher movie. But I just thought the humor worked so well for me. Like a lot of the jokes they were making, like I understood what they were going for. And I really liked it. Again, people like to throw the term woke around so just like loosely. I don't feel like that's what this movie was. I feel like it was making fun of certain types of people, but they were still somewhat likable. So I really liked it. In the end, I was like, what the fuck? Wow. wow, but in a good way. So
Okay.
bodies.
Okay. Respectable, because you like a movie that gets a whole lot of hate, on the internet, but that's okay, right? And people, for those of you watching, this is just our opinions, just so you guys know. You guys probably have your own opinions, and believe me, though, I know that there's a lot of shit talk about movies and everything online nowadays. But my number 9 is Barbarian. Barbarian was one of those experiences where I watched it and I didn't really know a whole lot about it because I tried to avoid, and I know that it's one of those horror movies that kind of just didn't really have a whole lot of marketing to it, just kind of came out. And I think there was 2 trailers, but I think that I didn't see the second one. I did see the initial teaser, and it caught my attention. And I was like, okay, so this can be very interesting. And watched it, and yeah, it was definitely shocking. And I just think that the first half of this movie is what really did it for me. After we kind of learned about what the thing was in the cave and all that shit, like it did get very claustrophobic, which I very much liked, but I liked the suspense of leading up to that. After that, the movie kind of fell flat for me just a little bit, which is why, again, it's like lower on my list, but I still very much enjoyed it. But it's really like that first, like those first 2 acts of like leading up to when Justin Long's character got there. So like about halfway through that second act, I very much enjoyed, very much. So, but then they had the whole side plot with him as an actor. But I did also like how it all tied into, it all kind of mushed together, which is what I very much liked about it. So had some really great elements, had some not great elements, but enjoyable enough for it to make my list. So Barbarian is number 9.
All right. My number 8 is Violent Night.
I'm glad that you consider that horror.
I mean, I can understand how people don't, because like, yeah, it does have deaths in it and some pretty gruesome deaths, but also just because there's deaths doesn't make a horror movie, There's plenty of action movies with a ton of deaths, and I don't consider that. But I am gonna put it on the list because I think it's horror adjacent. It's like horror enough, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, Violent Night. Like I said earlier, I really enjoyed this movie. It has David Harbour playing a Santa. It's something I never knew I needed, but I was so excited to see that. And it has some pretty great deaths. There's one death scene in particular that I paused the movie because I was laughing so hard because it was so cool. And I really like the story itself. I love a good Christmas movie that has, because a lot of Christmas movies are always like family ties in somehow, and it, there's always like an emotional scene. And this had that. So I love that it had your sort of like traditional Christmas movie style with a lot of violence and some pretty good gore. The Home Alone style scenes are so much fun too. And we're talking about Home Alone earlier. I feel like this does it well, and then Better Watch Out, of course, there's a Home Alone style scene in that as well. So I do like seeing more like horror movies incorporate those Home Alone kills. And then the little girl is talking about the movie, and so when she mentioned the movie in the beginning, I was like, oh my god, we're gonna see, because like I've heard there's a scene in there, so I was like, I'm excited to see how it played out, and I loved it. So yeah, I thought it was a cute Christmas movie, a fun horror-ish movie, and David Harbour stitching himself back up with a man bun. Wow. So, yeah.
You're like, I really needed this in my life.
I was like, I've seen TikToks, I've seen thirst traps for him as like the sexy Santa, but just like seeing it, I was like, oh my god, like holy shit, what's happening?
No, I mean, like David Harbour, I'm so glad to see that because he went from being just like a supporting side character in movies. Like, I've seen him in like The Equalizer. He was in that Johnny Depp movie. I forget what the name is, but I know the dinner scene. Like I always see TikToks on it, like, but after Stranger Things, I'm really glad to see that he's really getting up there and gaining a lot of the recognition that he deserves. He's just such a cool guy. You see him in interviews and everything. Like, he's very much deserving of being in the public's eye. So, and yeah, this role, I wouldn't mind seeing more of him as Santa. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So that was your number 8, right? You said?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8 for me is Prey. I love this movie. I thought that the action scenes are phenomenal. It had some moments where my jaw was on the ground. My buddy Misael and I, we watched it together. I went over to his house. We ordered pizza. We had some drinks, made a whole night out of it. It was a lot of fun. And I'm telling you, we actually had to rewind. There was two kills in particular that it all happens within the same scene. We had to rewind it and watch it again. Jaw was on the ground, and this movie it's very quick paced. There's really not a whole lot of like slow moments in it, and if there is, it's integral. Like, you know, our main character, like she's a hunter, right? Or she's trying to be a hunter, so it's her actually learning the way, or there's like a training montage of her actually learning her weapon and everything. So everything just kind of flowed really well. I'm a big fan of Dan Trachtenberg. I've been a big fan of his since 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I think is a criminally underrated movie. If you guys have never seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, highly recommend it. But his direction here is absolutely phenomenal. So Prey is my number 8.
All right. My number 7 is Barbarian. Sort of like what you said earlier, I had watched that first like teaser trailer. And from that teaser, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be like the run of the mill sort of cat and mouse sort of movie, you know? And again, I remember in that little teaser, you see a split second of Justin Long, and I went back like 10 times trying to make sure that that's fucking Justin Long in this because I didn't see his name anywhere. I was like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden, there's like a new horror movie with like Bill Skarsgård in it. And I was like, okay. So I was definitely going to watch it no matter what. And then I wasn't able to see it in theaters, unfortunately, but I kept seeing all the talk about Barbarian, and I knew nothing about it, luckily, because it took me a little bit to watch it. Nothing was spoiled for me, so I was really excited, and it was crazy. Everyone was right. It is crazy. And I kind of agree with you. I feel like in the end, it sort of does fall flat, especially like that sort of, I wouldn't say the very, very end, like right before the credits, but the whole sort of the final act. I was like, okay, we're kind of dragging this on a little bit. But I did love the very end, right to the credits with the song playing. Like, it just happened so fast. You don't really have any time to like sink in like what just happened. It just done.
Yeah.
So I appreciated something that was so out there and different, and just how I talked about like when we covered it, just to see like everyone talking about it, like on TikTok, that, you know, I've never seen their accounts before, but just seeing so many people that aren't just like horror movie lovers, but just to see so many people talk about it, like they're talking about it at work. Some of the girls that don't watch horror movies were talking about it. So it was cool to see a movie kind of like break that barrier, especially it not being a sequel or any sort of well-known name. Just people are going to go see it because they hear it's crazy. So it was really cool to have a movie like that, because I feel like if it's not a main franchise movie, I feel like they don't get like the praise really. So it was a lot of fun.
I did just see that original projects are going to be very, very hard to, if it's not an IP, if it's not like part of a big property or anything, then because I saw that Babylon apparently needs to make like, have you seen like trailers for that? Like it is supposed to make like 260 million to get its budget back, and apparently this past weekend it only got like 4.5 million. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, but apparently everyone that's seen is loving it. But it's not horror, but it's like about the dark side of Hollywood and everything. And it seems like it would be very interesting. And I mean, this director, he's directed like really, you know, popular movies like Whiplash, which I loved. And so I'm definitely curious to see what, you know, he does here. I do want to see this, but I did read that independent like properties, and this goes for horror as well, is going to be very, very hard for films to, you know, make their money back. And then what are studios going to do? That's why franchises are starting, because like you get an original concept like The Conjuring from 2013, but look how quick that became a franchise. That's now an IP that now has so many movies. I mean, The Nun 2 is coming out this upcoming year. Yeah, so it's going to be very, very hard for original projects to get started. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Ugh.
Are you done talking?
Yeah, sorry.
Regarding Barbarian?
Yeah. Fun movie.
I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have anything else to say about it. So okay, number 7, kind of odd that this is number 7 on my list and not a little bit higher, because I do very much enjoy this movie, but Pearl is number 7 on my list. And the reason it's number 7 is because yes, the movie's dark in terms of like her family life and everything, like the relationship she has with her mom and like her dad, like a lot of like the whole horror stuff doesn't really happen until like maybe midway through the movie. A lot of it is just kind of like her life on the farm. She goes into town. She wants to be a star and everything. I mean, this is a movie that it's more of a character study movie about a character that we were introduced to in the same year in X, right? But while it's dark, I did think that I thought that it was good, but in terms of like horror-esque stuff, it's a slow burn. I have no issues with slow burns, but I think that the reason it's where it is on my list is because it was more of like, in my opinion, a drama than anything. So, but I will say it's a dark movie. And Mia Goth, I swear to gosh, she really does deserve an Oscar nomination from that final monologue alone. And I feel like they're going to go right over her. So it's honestly crazy. She is fantastic in this movie. Her best performance to date, and love this movie. But yeah.
Okay. My number 6 is Terrifier 2.
Okay.
This movie was a lot of fun. It was really crazy, and it was nice to sort of just have like a good movie to turn your brain off to and just have fun with it. I got to watch this on Halloween because, it finally got added to Screambox, and so I watched it on Halloween while I was getting ready to go pass out candy. So perfect day to watch it. And I just had a lot of fun with it. And I think we get such a great final girl in this movie. Like, amazing. Was not
Yeah.
expecting to see such like a badass final girl like towards like the end of the year to like come out, and she's probably, in my opinion, probably the best final girl we got this year. So I think.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, I mean, it was a big surprise for sure, because the first one doesn't have a final girl necessarily. So,
No.
it was definitely new, but I liked it. So
Yeah, and it has some of the best gore, I think. And then I like that we find out a little bit more about art, but still not too much. Like, I know they're going to explain more about it like in the third one whenever we get to it. But just to like, again, like Barbarian, this movie kind of crossed like the thresholds of just like it being popular within the horror community because of all the talk going around it, and like seeing people like pass out and throw up, and they're giving out like little barf bags for you to see the movie, and there's like ambulances showing up and stuff. Like, we haven't had something like that since The Exorcist. It's
yeah.
so long since we've had a horror movie that has caused so much triumph within just like on the fucking news. It was on the news. Like, that's so crazy to see something that was so indie and so small getting like more theater dates. So like the streaming keeps getting pushed out like back, which I thought was awesome. Even though I had to wait longer to see it, it was still cool to see that something that had such a small budget make like $10 million the last time I saw, off of like what 200,000 or like 300,000, something super small.
Yeah, that's very profitable. That is honestly, actually, I think one of the most profitable films in a long time, because of how much it made back.
Yeah, it was crazy, and like it's just cool to see something like, because I don't remember the first time I watched Terrifier, like the first one, but it definitely wasn't the year like it came out, like that initial year.
Yeah,
But to see something that, you know, we like kind of caught like early on to like sort of surpass that like sort of like cult, or like it's not really well known, to see it now sort of talked about in like household names, and they're selling Terrifier merchandise like at Hot Topic. Like that's so cool to see, like, so like it's like a little baby, and
yeah.
it's getting famous, and it's so cool to see, because then we have possibly a next horror icon, which I do believe like Art the Clown is definitely one of the best horror icons we've gotten in like the past 10 years. So I'm really excited to see what they'll do for the third one, and I hope it's as good and as crazy.
I agree. I think that I'm excited to see where he takes that. And we know he's been tweeting about Terrifier 3, so we know that we're getting another one. So, and this is probably going to be the franchise that he's known for. So, and that's cool. Damien Leon, he seems like he's doing a great thing. So I'm definitely excited to see what he has up and coming. Want to take a minute here and catch up with the chat. Have you seen The Menu yet? Or no, not yet. So that's going to be on HBO Max next week. So I'm going to definitely watch that next week. I'm sad that I think it's still playing in theaters, but I'll more than likely have to catch it on HBO Max. I've heard really, really good things about it. I see Brettman saying that The Menu is his second favorite of 2022. Misael, what's going on, bud? How's it going? Misael, I've mentioned to you a couple times about some of the movies we've seen together this year. Talked about Prey already, so yeah, welcome in.
Really, I want to mention the movies I have not seen this year, and that's why they're not on my list. I did not watch The Menu. I haven't seen Bones and All, and I have not seen Prey. I really wanted to watch Prey, and I just didn't have time over the weekend. So
I feel like that might have made your list. Prey might have made your list, but so I'm curious to see what your thoughts are whenever you see that. Brettman says Terrifier 2 equals the movie where our love for mashed potatoes died. I don't know, man. I'll still sit down and eat some mashed potatoes. I wasn't a big fan of mashed potatoes anyway, but I'll eat them. I will
fuck up some mashed potatoes. So. I did over the weekend, and they were delicious.
Nice. Those were part of your Christmas dish?
Yeah, actually, my mom made dinner that night, and then also I got some mashed potatoes from KFC a couple of days after that. So fucking good. So good. I don't care if they're instant. I love them. I love instant mashed potatoes.
See, I'm not big on mashed potatoes. Sorry, peeps. Sue me. But Misael says Mad God. Have you seen Mad God yet?
Nope, that's another one that's not on my list.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either. I've seen that's actually been on a couple that was on Rotten Tomatoes top 10 list. So okay. Number 6 goes to Scream. Scream is my numero 6 on my list for this year. While I did have a very, very good time with this movie, I was upset because I was able to predict the killers. I have not been able to predict the killers in any of the other movies. This was the first one that I was able to do so in, so that made me very sad. But other than that, I really did enjoy this movie. I do think that this was a great closure for Dewey's story. For being a January movie, I thought that it was actually quite, I mean, I was nervous at first that it was just like, that showed no real confidence in my opinion. Either it showed no confidence or they were so confident that it was going to be so good that it was going to change how we perceive January movies. But I'll tell you who's not going to have a really strong start to 2023 with January movies. That's Blumhouse with Megan, because that movie looks absolutely insane. Like, in my
They're
opinion.
going to make money. That movie has been, again, all over my TikTok, people doing the Megan dance. People are going to go see this movie because it looks insane. It looks really campy. People will be there. They will be
Yeah. I thought that this was going to get an R rating, but it's PG-13. So, which I was pretty shocked at when I saw that. I was like, PG-13, really? Interesting. But yeah, nonetheless, I did very much enjoy Scream. I know that this was another one that just kind of got backlash when it came out because people were loving it and whatever. I liked it. I liked the characters. I like the new characters. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in Scream 6. Obviously, that is one of my most anticipated horror movies of 2023 is Scream 6. I will be there. I'll be there day one just because it's not my top 5. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, Ghostface, love him. But I am sad. I mean, well, Michael Myers is my favorite freaking horror icon ever, and he's not even on my list. Like, so if that says anything, I'm not biased. I'm not biased just because, you know, I love him. But yeah, Scream comes in at number 6.
Okay. My number 5 is Nope.
Okay.
This is another one that I was really late to because I had to wait for streaming because I wasn't able to see it in theaters. I watched it that first day it hit streaming. I was really excited to, and it did not disappoint me. Again, another movie that was not. I see your shirt. I see it. Thank you very much. I wanted to wear my egg shirt. I couldn't find it, so I had to wear Pennywise. Anyways, so I watched Nope, and again, nothing was really spoiled for me, which I was really happy about. Because there is still a twist in this movie, and like it wasn't like a twist like, oh my god, but I was just like, oh wow, okay, cool. This movie has some terrifying death scenes, even if we don't really see what's going on. The sound of it is horrific. The sound design in this movie is so good. The cinematography is fucking amazing. I think the acting is great on all parts. I don't like horses, so I wasn't really excited to watch a whole movie that sort of surrounds horses. Don't like them, but still I got past that. And I thought it was a great movie. And I felt like the ending was actually like really emotional. Like I said when we covered it, I did cry a little bit because I thought OJ was dead. So I did cry a little bit because it really hit me. And I just think Nope was great. And there's so much more to this movie besides it being like an alien sort of movie. Like there's so much more below the surface, which Jordan Peele is great at putting commentary in his movies without it being like so in your face. But I feel like this movie had so much more to say than, you know, what we saw. And for that, I think it's a great movie.
Facts. Love Nope. We'll talk about it when we get there. But number 5 on my list is X. I liked X a lot. I thought that it was a modern horror movie with old feel, which is what I very much enjoyed about it. Had some really, really stellar callbacks to, you know, horror franchises that we know and love. Obviously, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th were big parts of it. They had a couple references from horror movies that if you guys have seen the movie, you guys are familiar with some of the different references that it's kind of like thrown in there. I just thought it was a really good, you know, it was original, and then it was a mix of really, really good, you know, homages to franchises that have come before it. I think Ty West, welcome back to the horror genre, my guy. I'm glad to have you back. The fact that both of his movies have made my top 10 list is honestly, it says something. And I feel like I'm not the only one where Pearl and X fit in on a top 10 list. But Ty West, I cannot wait to see Maxine. I don't know if that's going to be out in 2023. I think it is. I think it'll be out late 2023. I think fall is what they're aiming for. But if not, if we have to wait till 2024, hey, you know, I'm excited for it nonetheless. I'm excited to see what they do with her character, especially the fact that Mia Goth can just go in and out of playing these different characters is so amazing. It's so cool. So yeah, definitely very much enjoyed X. That's number 5 for me.
All right. My number 4 is Watcher. I won't go into it too much because you haven't seen it, and I saw some other people in the chat. I don't think they got to see it yet, but it's on Shudder. Clearly, I love it because it's my top 4. But this movie came like as a real surprise to me. I just saw that Micah Monroe was in it, and I loved her in It Follows, so I was really excited to watch this. And it's more of like, it's sort of like movies like Rear Window and Disturbia and stuff like that, to where she's being watched. And I found it to be so like creepy and like unsettling, and there's parts of it that like are super uncomfortable, and you just like, you don't know what you would really do in that situation. And then the end is quite shocking in a really good way. So won't go too much into it, but I think Micah Monroe, her performance in this is super underrated because I just feel like maybe not enough people have seen it yet. But I feel like she gave one of the best performances of the year, besides ones that are more like out in theaters and more well known. But I think her performance in Watcher is underrated and needs to be talked about more. And then this wasn't on my list or in my honorable mentions, but she was in Significant Other as well this year, and I watched that. Really weird movie, but again, she's great in it. So I'm a big fan of hers. Pretty much anything she's in, I will watch.
Okay, cool. And I'm definitely excited to see it. I told you I'm gonna go on tonight on the app and start adding some stuff to my watch list because I actually need some stuff to watch. So
Okay. And if you have to watch any of the ones I mentioned tonight first, Watcher. Watch that one.
Okay. Yeah. Heard phenomenal stuff about it. So, I definitely want to. I plan on my 20. I'm hoping this time next year when we do this show that I will have seen a lot of stuff that come out throughout the course of 2023. So, number 4 for me, this was obviously number 1, I think, last week when we were talking about Christmas. Number 4, Violent Night. I love this movie. It is, again, going to be one of those holiday movies that I watch every single year. It'll be on repeat. I cannot wait to buy it on 4K. I'm going to get it on 4K. I'm going to start buying stuff on 4K. I know that that's kind of like the new Blu-ray thing and whatever, but I definitely will be buying it when it's out. Love this movie. I think what you said earlier and what we were kind of talking about is David Harbour as Santa. Literally perfect casting. I hope that whoever was in charge of making that decision to cast him was treated very well, and hopefully they got some sort of promotion into a higher up position. But I definitely think that this is one of the best just Christmas movies in general that I've come across in a long time. This was a big surprise because I saw the poster, saw the trailer, and the movie could have just been very cheesy. And, it could have been cheesy and fun. It could have just been sloppily done. They just could have, thrown David Harbour's name on there just to be like, okay. But no, this movie, it has a great story, a great message. It's got a great Christmas message. It fits in with the holiday. And on top of that, the cherry on the top is just the sweet, sweet kills that we get in it. So love Violent Night. That's my number 4.
Nice. All right. My number 3 is Pearl. I love this movie. I thought it was so good. Like you said, it's definitely a character study. And I do like that it's so different from X. And this one really came as a surprise. I know I wasn't able to see like that final or like little teaser at the end of X. But that's such a cool thing to like go to the movies and you're seeing a movie and then all of a sudden you find out there's going to be a prequel to the movie you just watched. And I think the way that they did it was really smart because we are introduced to Pearl in X. And so it's really cool to see where she kind of started off as, because we know how she ends up. We know what happens to her in X. So it's really cool to see what led up to all those decisions. And there's a lot of good sort of like callbacks to X that are like brought up in Pearl, which I really enjoyed. Like you said, Mia Goth, she was definitely one of my favorite just anything this year. She was absolutely amazing in all the parts she played as young Pearl, Maxine, and old Pearl. Two same characters, but still somewhat sort of different. But to have, you know, three different parts basically, and to play them all so well is really crazy. And how hands-on she was with Pearl, like with the screenplay and everything with Ty West, I think is so cool to see how like hands-on she was. And I absolutely love this movie. It was crazy. The monologue is fantastic. And that end credit scene, definitely one of my favorite moments of movies this year. It was so uneasy. My friend and I, we were trying to smile along with her to see how long we could do it. It was really hard to do that. And
Yeah.
it's so unsettling. It's so creepy and it's so good. And it just goes on for so long. And I loved it. And it was just cool to see a movie like set in 1918. I feel like a lot of times when we see period pieces, they're like in like the 1900s, we're getting like, or like earlier than that, like shit like The Witch and stuff like that. So it was cool to see like an early sort of like 1918. What a crazy time. What a crazy year. And it played in well with, all the COVID shit that was happening. So
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
is.
I thought that was very smart, honestly, because
Right?
it was. I mean, because honestly, if they didn't do that, it would just be like, it could have been set in a year where that none of that was going on. But I think that it's relatable to what's going on today. Like, she was going into town, she had to wear her mask and everything. Like there was a lot of stuff that we just relate to in today's day and age that made it work very well. And then, the scarecrow scene is definitely whoa.
That was so much fun experiencing with my friend because she doesn't watch a whole lot of horror movies and she hadn't seen X. Because like it was the day I was going to see it and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to go." I was like, "You can go watch it. Like it's a prequel. You don't have to have seen X first. Like you can watch this one first if you want to." And the whole time she was like looking at me. Anytime something weird happened, she would turn at me. I was like, "Girl, don't look at me. Watch the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't make this movie. I don't know what's going on."
Yeah, honestly, like Misael, he said, "I'm married."
That is probably my favorite part of the movie. I'm
Oh my god,
married.
I know that insane. But again, character study, and that was definitely getting into her head and everything. So, Brettman, we will mention our worst horror movie of the year when at the very end. Like for me, it'll just be more disappointing for sure. Okay. We're on number 3, right?
Yes.
Okay. So number 3 for me is The Black Phone. I loved this movie. I thought that The Black Phone was absolutely amazing. Ethan Hawke as the grabber, there was just something about him that was, I mean, it was terrifying. Like, and then it has some of the best child performances that I've seen in a horror movie, and really just in a movie. I'd say honestly since It. Like, I really do think that the kid actors in this movie are really good, and it really brought out some really tense moments and everything. And but yeah, Ethan Hawke in the movie, I just thought the way that he would like sit in the chair like after kind of like leaving the door open upstairs, and he comes around and he's just sitting in the chair, and you're just like, oh, it just gives you the creeps. And Scott Derrickson obviously knows how to give you the creeps for sure. I mean, well, okay, let me rephrase that. I saw you're like, no, it doesn't give me the creeps. That gives me the
Look, what he's doing is wrong, okay?
huh?
What
Yeah.
he's doing is terrible. But when he's sitting there with his shirt off, I was like, fuck. What is up with these older men looking
You're
fine?
like, yeah, you're like, I don't know what it is about it, but I find that very attractive. So
He's a fine man. Dude, Kevin Bacon and They Slash Them. I don't know what it was. I've never been attracted to Kevin Bacon.
even
But
though that movie was dog shit,
it was not good.
actual dog shit.
He was good
But
in it. That movie was not good. But he looked so good, and I was like, what the fuck? Why do you look so good right now? But yeah, Ethan Hawke, that man is fine. And seeing him shirtless, I was like, damn, He could still get it, absolutely. Even though I am the same age as his daughter, that man can get it.
Oh, Lordy. All right, what's your number 2?
My number 2. Oh, also, I didn't even fucking put the black phone on my list.
That's honestly crazy.
I forgot. I literally wrote down all the movies I had watched, and that's not on it. So that'll be an honorable mention, I guess, because I did really enjoy The Black Phone. I agree with everything you said. The performances are great, especially from the child actors. The little sister, the My Dreams Are Just Dreams, that whole scene was so hard to watch because she is so good. And the whole part with his friend showing him how to use the phone, it made me emotional. I did cry a little bit. And I've seen some really sad edits of it on TikTok with that song that plays when Eddie dies in Stranger Things. So they use that song with it, and I was like, whoa, I can't take this. So I really enjoyed The Black Phone. I'm upset that I forgot to mention it.
I mean, I will also say like that it had a jump scare that actually really got me. Like it was when he answered the phone and the camera turned and like the jolt of the speakers in the theater I saw it in, I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
There was actually 2 of them. There was 2 jump scares that got me. There was that one, and then it was when his sister was on the bike and like in front of her were all the kids. Whoa, scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, but great movie. That was my number 3.
Okay, my number 2 is Scream 5. Earlier you said you weren't biased, but I am. This is my first Scream movie in theaters. I was absolutely pumped, even though I knew going into it, because I had watched a review of Spooky Astronauts, and she didn't spoil anything. She just said it's an emotional film, and I was like, fuck, someone's going to die. And then when you watch the trailer, you can sort of piece together who it's going to be. And so that whole day, like at work, I was like really nervous. Like, because I told everyone, I was like, oh my God, I'm seeing Scream 5 tonight. And my boss is like, are you excited? And I was like, I have a lot of anxiety about it, actually. Like, my stomach is upset because I know someone's going to die. And I was a wreck when that scene happened. I was sobbing in the theater, trying not to make any noise. And it was really hard because I didn't want to be doing that. But I absolutely love Scream 5. With it being my first, well, I saw the original Scream last year in theater, but my first new Scream movie in theaters, and to like just witness how it all plays out. And I did call one of the ghost faces since the person was casted. I was like, that's a ghost face. I have a feeling, I know it is. But the other one actually got me. I jumped whenever that reveal happened. There was a few scenes where with Judy's scene, I jumped out of my chair. It scared the fuck out of me. I wasn't expecting it. So I think the death scene in the movie's great. There's a lot of good gore. Some of it made me like sick to my stomach. And even though I think the reveals are a little bit predictable, I still thought the third act was really good. And I do think this was a good closing story out for both Dewey and Sydney. I would like to point out that whenever I was on Goodwill Hunting's channel for our Scream 5 predictions, I was right about most of them in a way. And then after we did that, we talked about more like going back. And then I predicted stuff for Scream 6. And I would like to say it is happening. I was like, Samara Weaving could be in 5. What if they put her in 6? She's in it. I said, what if this is Sydney's last movie? And then they bring back Kirby for Scream 6, and she sort of takes on that lead.
Okay, but let's face it. If this movie is successful, inevitably it's going to be, and the studio is going to see it, and they're going to be like, you know what, we got to do a 7. This is going to be Act 2 of 3, right? So Sydney's coming back for the last one. I am guarantee you they are going to do whatever they can, and I'm saying this right now. On December 28th, 2022, Sydney will be back one more time in Scream 7. I wouldn't be surprised if she's in the fucking final scene of Scream 6. I wouldn't be surprised if all that shit all over social media was just to kind of like get people like, oh my God, Sydney's not in it or whatever. And then behind the scenes, like they're like, okay, yeah, we fucking got this, you know. it wouldn't surprise me if she makes some sort of appearance in Scream 6. But if she's not in 6, if she's not in 6 at all, she will be back for a 7th one. I guarantee it. And they will pay her as much money as they as much as they need to get her in. So they just need to make all the money back from this one first before they can distribute any more payments to her. So thank you so much for the super chat. Good Real, he says, stop bragging, Des. I win for the Scream 6 prediction.
I was so proud of myself whenever we kind of like went back and we're like talking about what was said and stuff. And I was like, damn, some of them were left field and Brad threw out some crazy ones, but I was pretty proud of myself that, you know, I got most of them right for that one and for hopefully, I mean, somewhat for Scream 6. So got to do another one of those videos and I have to really use my brain for it because I feel like they're going to try to fuck us up with this one. I feel like they're going to do something crazy with Scream. I have a feeling.
Hey, you know what they are saying, and it always gets me nervous when cast members and people say this because a lot of the times it's like they're saying it's the craziest, the bloodiest, the most badass we've ever seen Ghostface. They've said, honestly, they said that for Halloween Kills, like that Michael Myers has never been scarier and this is the most brutal Halloween ever. And I'm kind of sitting there and I'm just like, I saw the movie and I'm like, yeah, it's brutal. Rob Zombie still takes the cake for the most brutal. So, you know, like it, I mean, I just like don't want to like be like, oh my God, this is like, holy shit, until I actually see it and it literally awes me. Like, then we can talk. But like other than that, I'm just gonna be like, okay, yeah, it's brutal, but is it as brutal as they're hyping it up to be?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I will say from that teaser, Ghostface does look really intimidating in that teaser, and even in Scream 5, I grew up watching Scream, and like Ghostface has never scared me, and I guess it's also because like I'd watched Scary Movie really young as well, and so like Ghostface just never scared me. But in Scream 5, there are shots, especially like in the hospital or in that opening scene where like Tara kicks him and then he like stands up slowly. I was like, oh my God, like it's actually getting me a little bit. And from the teaser for Scream 6, I was like, okay, that actually looks kind of scary. And Ghostface has never been really scary to me. So I think they're doing a really great job at like shooting Ghostface and like making Ghostface actually feel scary because we know Ghostface to be clumsy and tripping.
Sure.
And so I feel like it's hard to be scared of that. But there's certain shots from Scream 5. I was like, oh yeah, that's actually pretty intimidating. So,
sure. Yeah, and the Entertainment Weekly first look at him, I don't know what it is. I'm a fan of weathered masks, officially. Like, I think that the weathered mask looks absolutely awesome. Why it's weathered, I don't know. But all I could tell you, I don't really care that we don't know right now as to why it's weathered. I'd prefer it like that. But the look of it definitely has me being like, okay, at least it's something different than just the clean white mask. You know, it's something more unique, and maybe it's just simply a ghost face mask that was on the shelf or something like that at a store. Maybe these are types of masks that they're releasing, right? Could be, because it's Halloween time, it seems like. So this could, and if people are dressed up in these costumes, this could just be something that's someone can buy at the store. We've seen at Spirit Halloween, and we've seen, you know, a bunch of different ghost face masks. They've had scarecrow ones, devil ones, all that shit. Like, so could just be a unique style. But okay, my number 2 is Nope. I fucking love this movie. I think that it is very well done. I actually have re-ranked my Jordan Peele movies. It now goes Get Out, Nope, and then Us. Nope is, I don't even know what to say about it that hasn't already been said about it. It is a spectacle. I know that, you know, the whole thing with Nope is you are going to witness a spectacle, but really the movie is a story about the horror of spectacles. It's like a spectacle that's about the horror of spectacles. And I think that it's absolutely so well done. It's got a great mix of There's clear Easter eggs to Jaws, Signs, The Third Kind, like what else? Just a whole bunch of, like, you could tell that he loves, the early Steven Spielberg, and you can tell he's a fan of this genre. And the sound design, like you said, I was watching it on my sound bar, and I got one of those like the 5-level basses. I turned it up to 3, and my ground was shaking during some of the scenes. So it works very well with home sound systems. If you guys haven't had a chance to see it yet, it is phenomenal. Very glad to have added it to my Blu-ray collection. And yeah, I just love this movie. So, and I cannot wait to see what else he has in store now. So,
All right. My number 1 is X. I absolutely loved X. It's like you said earlier, it's a good callback slasher to like 70s style movies. It's very much Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque, and I absolutely love that. And both with X and Pearl, I feel like I can really resonate with both Pearl and Maxine a lot. I live in a small town in Texas. It is hard to get out and like want to do like what you actually want to do. And so when I was watching these movies, I was like, fuck, that actually like hits really close to home for me. And it was just so cool. Like, it opens in fucking Houston, Texas. I live in the Houston area. I was like, oh my God, like, that's us. I was in the theater. I was like, Houston, this is so crazy. And I think everyone in the movie plays such a great job. You have Mia Goth, like we talked about earlier. You have Jenna Ortega, absolutely amazing. Brittany Snow, I love Brittany Snow. And to see her back in a horror movie and play a part like this as something I've never seen her play, like this sort of like overtly sexual, was really cool to see from her. And then all the male cast was also great and has some great death scenes. And I love the style of the movie, very different from what we saw in Pearl. It feels very of its time, in the 70s. And I absolutely love the ending. And I love the parallels that we get between Pearl and Maxine. And then obviously we learn more about that in Pearl. But there's just, again, sort of like, nope, it could be like a surface level sort of slasher. And I see a lot of people say that that's all it is. And I don't agree. I feel like there is a lot more to this movie about like aging. There's so much with the aging. And I know people like to be like, oh, that one scene with old people are fucking, haha. It's like, that's the point of the movie, though. Like, this isn't supposed to be weird. It's just two people having sex. What's different from this than what we just saw earlier? It's just because they're older. That's the point the movie's trying to say. And I just feel like there's so much more to this movie than just that. And whenever I watched it in theaters, it really stuck with me. Maxine's character really stuck with me. And then the same thing for Pearl and Pearl. So I'm really excited for Maxine. Scream 6 and Maxine, those are the ones I'm looking forward to the most of next year. So I'm really excited to see this move forward and take place in the 80s. We talked about this before. I fucking love movies set in the 80s. I don't care if people think it's overdone. Give me all of the sort of 80s throwback movies. I love it. And especially Ty West. We saw him in 1918 and 1978, and now we're going to go to 85. So I am so excited for it.
Yeah, I know, the 80s. That's what gets me very excited about Maxine, is that it takes place in the 80s. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do and really what the story is going to be. Obviously this is Maxine continuing to live her dream of trying to be famous and everything and be seen, right? And I'm just curious to see. And now it's 85 in Los Angeles. Like, that's going to be insane.
Okay. Perfect.
So now I did not expect this movie to be my number 1 of the year, but I mean, it really is a movie that had my jaw on the ground for the duration of the entire film. It had a badass final girl and a new horror icon, and it's Terrifier 2. Art the Clown has gained icon status with this one. I know that there were people that were arguing that he is icon status from the first one. No, I don't think so. He had the one really badass kill and fucking really just disturbing kill in the first movie, which, you know, which definitely put him on, like, that's a memorable kill. Like, you see this movie, you're going to remember that kill. It's known as the scene, right? But this movie, it really did make him icon status. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and it's beefy for a slasher. But I was engaged the whole time. I was constantly engaged with, you know, what was going on. I love the color palette of the movie. I also was saying when we talked about this that like I like the feel of these movies. I like how it had the same feel as the first movie. But the movie, I was curious to see if they were going to have a scene like they did in the first one. And not only did I think they upped it, I think that they've officially outdone themselves with this one. So yeah, I love Terrifier 2. It's amazing. And I want to get the double Blu-ray pack so I can have both of them. But I definitely very much enjoyed this movie. Did not expect to have it as number one on my list this year. But I love that. You know, I love coming into the year and being like, no, this is going to be number one. I know it. And then something else comes out and it just completely awes you. I didn't even really know what to expect with Terrifier 2. So, yeah. And that's our top 10 list, guys. So what is your guys' list? Now, Misael is asking what is our most anticipated of 2023. So we actually do have an episode coming up in I think a couple weeks, or is that next week? Are we doing that? It's the start of the year.
I think so.
Okay. So yeah, we're actually doing most anticipated of 2023 next week. But do you have any that you just kind of want to spew out that you're excited for that, you know, isn't in a particular order?
Scream 6.
Scream 6. Cool. I'm not going to lie. I'm hoping that The Nun 2 is better than the first one. I was excited for The Nun back in 2018, but I mean, hey, look what happened with Annabelle.
That's what I was getting.
Annabelle came out. It was hot trash. And what do you call it? And then Annabelle Creation came out and it was really good. So maybe this change of director will actually be beneficial for the Nun movies. Now, that's not my most anticipated movie of the year, but it's like one of the most anticipated horror movies, I should say. Misa, I know what yours is. His most anticipated people's John Wick Chapter 4. That's one of my most anticipated action movies for a fact. I cannot wait. I'm actually flying into Chicago that weekend to go see it with him and our friend group, and we're gonna spend the whole day. We've already got this outlined. So anyone that wants to do this, again, whatever, we're watching all three of them. We're gonna get plastered, and we're gonna go see number 4. So, but yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. Destiny, what you got coming up on future shows?
I don't think anything for the rest of the year.
Nothing for the rest. Oh, I was gonna say for the rest of the year. I was like, oh yeah, it's only the 28th.
Yeah,
it's the 28th. So nothing for the rest of the year for you. Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm done for the rest of the year. Oh, Brettman, that's right. We did say that we would do this. The worst horror movie of 2022, in your opinion, what would you say is the worst horror of the year?
The Requiem.
The
Requiem.
Is that on Shudder?
No, Brett rented it so we could watch, and it was not good.
Oh, okay.
It has Alicia Silverstone, which I love because I love Clueless and The Crush and the Aerosmith videos. I love Aerosmith, but so I was really excited for it. and it's a shark movie, and it's a really cool premise, but it's just so like predictable and boring and slow. So yeah, it unfortunately was a huge letdown. Like I was actually skipping like 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds because it just dragged on so long. And it's not a long movie, but it felt like it went on forever. So that one was really disappointing because I thought I can have fun with a bad shark movie, you know? I like some bad shark movies, but this one was just like just boring, pretty forgettable. Yeah. Pretty
Okay.
disappointing. And I didn't even have high hopes for it.
Interesting. Okay. In my opinion, the worst horror movie I saw this year, from what I've seen, was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was not very good. It had some good kills. I'll give it that. I thought that it had some solid kills. I thought Leatherface was okay. But the overall story of the movie was terrible. I remember we talked about that. I did not like it very much. It felt like they just needed to get it out just because. So, so it's definitely one of my most hated movies of the year. Now, I have not seen Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I honestly saw some of the stuff on TikTok, and I didn't even give a shit to watch it. I didn't think it deserved any of my money. I didn't think that it was worth watching. So, yeah.
No, I kind of like I feel like I used to like have to watch everything, you know? With Jeepers Creepers Reborn, I was like, I'm just not gonna watch it. I don't have to put myself through that if I don't want to. So I'm gonna watch it.
All I had to do is see the TikTok. All I had to do is see the TikTok of the guys throwing that thing off of the building, and the effect is so bad. I'm like, it literally looks like it was thrown into iMovie. Some cheap like whirl effect was thrown on, and that was it. Well, I mean, even the color palette looks like it was done in like iMovie or something like that.
I saw the trailer. I watched the trailer in a Taco Bell, and I was like, no, no, thank you. So from the trailer, I was like, I'm not doing this.
An
No.
atrocity. Absolutely not. It's got like a 2.5 rating on like IMDb.
It has 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. The last time I checked, it has a 0.
Oh my God. I actually need to see if there are any 10-star ratings on IMDb for this, because if there is, it's got to be a kid. It's got to be like I liked bad movies as a kid too. I did, and then you grow up and you're just kind of like, okay, this is bad. So it's got to be someone that's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, right?
I watched Jaws 4 as a kid, and I didn't know it was a bad movie. I loved it because it was Jaws.
That's a Christmas movie too. You could actually watch that during Christmas
and a New
time.
Year's Eve movie.
And a New Year's Eve movie.
Past Christmas.
It does. True. So you technically watch that through this week. Just know that there's someone in the Bahamas battling a shark right now for New Year's. That's how they're spending the rest of their years, battling this shark because it's terrorizing their family. After
this time, it's personal.
This time, it's like, how can something be it's ridiculous. Oh, and not even
things personally, Mr. Brody. This time, personal.
Not even to mention, the shark follows this family from New York to the Bahamas.
It's personal.
It's personal. He has a mission to go after this family. The Brody family, you are in trouble. Wherever you are, just know that there's a shark coming for you. So
I will find you.
But yeah, guys, so that's our show for tonight. Thank you guys so much for being a great audience. As always, I've seen a lot of really great chats here tonight regarding your guys' favorite movies throughout the year. Next week with 2023, we are going to have our top 10 most anticipated movies of the year. That's going to be hard. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be hard to narrow down 10. I know that we've got some good horror up and coming. I know that we've got some good movies itself up and coming. 2023 has the opportunity to be better than 2022, and 2022 was actually a really solid year for movies in general. So thank you guys so much for being a great audience. As always, look forward to more videos and streams very soon. And as always, if you guys like this, don't forget to join this channel on its journey to 15,000 subscribers, and we will see you guys next week on Fear Freaks. Have a great night and Happy New Year to all of you.